the British Empire. It was massive, a real testament to Britain's ambition and power. At its biggest, it covered a quarter of all the land on Earth, stretching across entire continents and oceans. From the freezing lands of Canada to the sunny beaches of Australia, you could see the British flag, a symbol of how powerful and influential Britain was. This huge empire, started by a small island nation, changed the world forever. It shaped how countries made money, their cultures, and even their futures. It left behind a complicated and diverse legacy, just like the empire itself. The story of the British Empire isn't just about conquering and ruling. It's a story of explorers, traders, battles, and different cultures mixing together. It's a story of big wins and terrible losses, of people with big ideas and some who were just bad, and of how people kept going even when things were really tough. In this video, we'll travel through time to see how this giant on the world stage rose and fell, using maps to help us understand its complicated history. The British Empire didn't just appear overnight. It started long before England was even one country. It began with exploration and trade driven by a desire for knowledge, riches and power. When Elizabeth I was Queen, the English started sailing further, looking for new opportunities across the Atlantic Ocean. Explorers like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Martin Frobisher went on brave voyages, claiming new lands for the Queen and challenging the power of Spain and Portugal. These early trips weren't just about exploring. They were important moves in a global power struggle. The Queen wanted England to be a major world power, and she saw colonies as a way to get rich and important, but building an empire wasn't easy. The first English colony in North America on Roanoke Island in 1585 failed mysteriously. We still don't know what happened to the people who lived there. Even though things went wrong at first, the English didn't give up on their dreams of an empire. In the 1600s, England started organizing its colonies, setting up different ways to rule them. Three main types of colonies developed: crown colonies, charter colonies, and proprietary colonies. Crown colonies like Virginia were ruled directly by the king or queen. Charter colonies like Massachusetts were run by companies that had permission from the crown. Proprietary colonies like Pennsylvania were given to individuals or groups who had almost total control. This system helped England control large areas, but it also caused problems. The colonists, living far away from England, started to develop their own identities and wanted more freedom. This desire for self-rule eventually led to the American Revolution, a hugely important event in the history of the British Empire. England's colonies made it bigger, but it was trade that made it rich and powerful. Companies like the Levant Company and the East India Company changed England's fortunes. These companies had exclusive rights to trade with certain areas, and they became incredibly wealthy and influential. They set up trading posts and forts, creating a network of trade routes around the world. The East India Company was especially important in shaping the British Empire. Starting in 1600, it focused on trade with the East Indies, setting up trading posts in India and Southeast Asia. But the company wanted more than just trade. It created its own army, fought wars, and conquered huge areas, becoming like a separate country within England. Throughout history, fights and conquests have shaped countries. From old battles that made empires rise and fall to modern fights for power and resources, the desire to be the strongest has always been there. It's during these chaotic times that heroes are made and legends are born, often changing history in big ways. The American Revolution, from 1775 to 1783, was a turning point. The colonists in the 13 American colonies didn't want to be ruled by Britain anymore, and they fought for their freedom. They believed in ideas like equality and self-government. Important leaders like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson helped create the new United States of America. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially ended the war and recognized America's independence. As the 1700s went on, European countries became more interested in the East. They wanted spices, silk, and other valuable things. The British East India Company played a big part in making Britain the most powerful country in India. China and Japan, with their rich cultures, also became important, and sometimes there were conflicts. The power balance in Asia started to change, which would be important later on. The Victorian era, when Queen Victoria ruled from 1837 to 1901, was a time of huge growth and industrialization. The British Empire was at its largest, with colonies all over the world. New technology, transportation and communication changed everything. The Industrial Revolution changed the economy and society, but there were also problems like unfair working conditions and the fight for women's rights. The Victorian era had a lasting impact on the world, shaping modern civilization. In the early 1900s, many empires began to fall apart. World War I and World War II changed global politics, leading to the end of the Ottoman, Austro-Hungarian, Russian and German empires. The British Empire, even though it won the wars, also started to break up, giving independence to many of its colonies, but these empires still affect us today. They influenced current political borders, how cultures mixed, and international relations. We can still see their impact on the world today.